Hey, I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Welcome to the news and why it matters. Glenn, what was the top story today?
Top story today is a story that I don't think anybody is really talking about. It's about Mackenzie Adams. And it's a story I heard this morning, and it won't leave me alone.
All right, Stu.
Not enough people talking about that story. Too many people talking about my story, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I think it's interesting to look at what is happening with her, why it's happening, and what the risks are.
All right, Jason.
Consider these numbers really quick. Past 3 years, around 300 victims of terror attacks in France alone, just in the past 3 years. And these are separate attacks. And again, yesterday afternoon.
All right, obviously got a lot to get into. Before we do that, I want to thank our sponsor, Brickhouse. Before we started this lovely show, Jason offered me this broccoli and cauliflower that we have sitting on the table because he knows how much I love vegetables.
Have you seen anything, well, less appetizing, I guess?
I love
Moss. You should not eat moss. But I think that moss, this looks like cauliflower. This, I don't know what it looks like, a green brain. You don't want to eat this stuff.
I mean, I do, but nobody else seems to want to eat it. That's where Brickhouse comes in handy because they have their product Field of Greens, which is it's organic fruits and vegetables in
Had
powdered
it this
form.
morning.
Yes.
Delicious.
Yeah, and it's real food.
Yeah, I just put it in a smoothie, make a little smoothie. My wife's expert smoothie maker. But anyway, she just makes, that's all I'm having for breakfast. I'm like, good. Well, I'll have one of those, and I'm having breakfast. So anyway, just make a quick smoothie. You pour it in, and you mix it up. And at least I can't taste it, or maybe it makes it taste better. I don't know, but I can't taste anything that tastes like stuff you're supposed to eat. And it's great.
Yeah, no, and it tastes great in water too. I've had it in water, and it tastes amazing in water. 1 scoop is 1 full serving of fruits and vegetables. You need this in your life, men. Go to, brickhouseblaze.com. Use promo code GREENS, or you can text it to 41411 for 15% off of your first order.
I appreciated the sexist addition to that particular commercial.
Yeah, you need these.
Did you?
Nice, yeah, thank you.
Okay, let me do a quick poll at the table. Men here, which one of you like eating vegetables?
Oh, I love it. Don't you love it?
No,
You
eating
guys
them,
love it.
not Brickhouse.
Oh, no, I love it. Don't you love it?
I love it.
He loves it, too. We all love it.
Sexism.
Sexist.
Absolutely love it.
Liars. Liars. All right, Glenn.
All right. And tell me if anybody remembers this. We haven't solved anything. We are going back to the 1950s, just with a different car. Alabama. Little girl. She's 9. She befriends a kid of another color. And they're at school together. They play together. The mom and dad of the little boy pick this little girl up every day, take her to school. When they don't do that, if they miss something, then she rides the bus. When she's on the bus, they're constantly saying, you're a sellout. Why are you with this person? Don't you realize what color they are? And it's a horror show. But you expect that in Alabama, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what we're all supposed to believe, that Alabama is this deep, racist place. And it is, apparently, except this story is not about a white boy or a white girl befriending a black. It's a 9-year-old black girl who befriended a white kid. And everyone told her, you're ugly, you're black, why are you doing this? You shouldn't be with a white person. It wasn't white people saying that, it was black kids saying that to her, to the point to where she killed herself.
Oh my gosh.
She's 9. She's 9. How does that even happen? I haven't seen this story everywhere. This story, we're not fixing anything. We're making things worse. This story I would expect to happen in the reverse in the 1960s in Alabama. Maybe the 1970s, 80s. That'll be nice. 1995. But I've been in broadcast for 40-some years. I have not seen a story like this. Black on white, white on black, doesn't matter. I can't recall the last story since I got into radio in 1979. Can't think of it. Can't think of it. What are we doing? I can tell you stories about racism. I can tell you about stories about, whites killing blacks because of racism, blacks killing whites because of racism. Got it. Not children. Not children.
Just the fact still that she could even comprehend killing herself is just, it's so troubling.
It's the one part of the story that is not in the story. And I so want to know, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. I'm glad they didn't print it. But how does a 9-year-old do that?
I don't know, even conceptually. My son's 7. It's only 2 years away from 9, and I can't even imagine him being anywhere close to even thinking about something like that.
Now think of the parents. They tried to get help. They went to the school over and over again and said, my daughter is being bullied because of this. Worse yet, think about our little white friend. What he's going to live with for the rest of his life, that his best friend killed herself because she liked him.
Well, and also, I wonder how he's being treated, if she's being treated by the other black kids as the way that she's being treated. How is this white kid being treated?
I don't know. I called my wife today. I've never done this. And I said, I want to go to the funeral. I don't know if I can, but I want to go to the funeral. I'm going to talk about it on the air tomorrow. There should be a scholarship set up. This is an event that should have a town hall meeting nationwide. This event. And that town should not be yelling at each other. That town should be looking at each other, whites sitting next to blacks, going, how does this happen? How does this happen? This is not right.
It really doesn't fit predetermined narratives, I would say, and I don't think, because this has nothing to do with saying that black people in general did anything wrong, just like it shouldn't be about gun owners in general doing something wrong when there are murders. It's got nothing to do with that. But it is something about, there's some soul searching to happen there. That I think we have been able to clear a lot of this horrible nonsense that has happened in our country and the globe's history for a long time when it comes to racism. You look back at polling going back to the 60s and 50s of just interracial marriages, of how many people approved it. And we've gone from 70 and 80% disapproval rating on interracial marriages to like 2%. We have cleared out a lot of the nonsense that's associated with this, but it still pops up too often.
And we're building it now in the reverse direction.
Yeah.
We're going back, just in a different car.
Yeah. And it's not just when it comes to race, it's just the divide that we have in this country is so strong. I was reading another story about a little boy, he's 11, and he was being bullied so extremely that his parents had to pull him out of school for a year because of his last name. And it wasn't Buttrell. It was Trump. His last name was Trump, and he was being bullied so much at his school when Donald Trump announced that he was running for president that his parents had to pull him out of school. They figured that it would have died down, and they brought him back to school recently, and he is being bullied to the extreme. He said he does not want to live feeling like this anymore. They're calling him an idiot. They're calling him all sorts of names because his last name is Trump. And obviously no relation.
Unbelievable.
What are we teaching our children?
Let me lighten this up a little bit with a Star-Bellied Sneetches reference, one of my favorite books when I was a kid. If you remember this book, The Star-Bellied Sneetches, it was a Dr. Seuss book. And the book is about how ridiculous these things are, things like this. There's the Sneetches, they're 2 like yellow creatures, and half of them get stars on their belly, and then the other half decide to get stars on their belly to match to the other ones, but then they realize everyone now has stars on their bellies, and so they get them all removed, and it's just a ridiculous back and forth of like one group trying to catch up to the other group, and everyone in their own little tribes. And it shows just how, in a children's book, as only a children's book could, shows how stupid racism and chasing after other people's, envy, essentially. How dumb those things are. Those are really childish, silly, ridiculous notions. If you ever make a decision based on someone's skin color, you are a moron. Then I know that doesn't it's very human, but it is something we should actually think of it as something a 4-year-old might think to do. But when you are, and this goes both ways, because I think people do it to the positive too. You're saying, oh, well, we should give all benefits to this group because of X, Y, or Z. You should not make decisions based on skin color. It's a really dumb way to make a decision. As Glenn has said many times, there's a lot of real reasons to hate people because you get to know them and then you hate them. It's not just about their skin color.
Well, and you say maybe a 4-year-old would do it. I don't think a 4-year-old would, because I'm thinking to when my son was 4, he didn't pay attention to people's skin colors. You know what I mean?
So look at Crazy Rich Asians. Okay, have you guys seen that movie?
I have.
Okay, notice the racism in that.
I was going to say, if us three, the guys have seen it, and Sarah hasn't, I'm going to be very embarrassed.
Yeah. So, I have not. Have you seen it?
No.
Okay, it's really good. Did you notice the racism in it? All the reverse racism?
There definitely is.
I mean, the family will not. You're not Chinese.
Yeah.
Even though she came from China, she was born, I think, in the United States, or just moved when she was young, so she was raised in the United States. You're not really Chinese. You're not going to marry an American. All that stuff still happens. I mean, we know people, we've worked with people who are married into Asian families. They do not like it at all. And I think about what the West brought to the table. What the West brought to the table were things like South Pacific, where we exposed that in 1950. And we looked at that and we said, that's not right. You shouldn't, there's no difference. It's just a cultural difference. You shouldn't, we shouldn't be this way. And the song from South Pacific, you have to be carefully taught. And the whole song is about hatred. You're not born hating. You have to be taught they're different. They aren't like you. Be wary of them. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Before we get to the next topic, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back. Before we get into Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez,
Ooh,
I want to thank our
spice on that one.
yeah, That's
Wait,
that's
busting
Gonzalez.
that
Gonzalez coming out. I want to thank our sponsor, My Patriot Supply. The world is crazy. And yes, the world is Glenn Beck.
No,
Mr. Doom and Gloom. The world is crazy. You never know when you might need some sort of emergency.
Should I say what I said to you this morning? We were talking off air about what I'm
answer's
about to
probably
do.
no.
No, not yet.
Always no. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, well, I'll talk about it at the beginning of next year. But I don't think things are good. And I'm about to make a large move myself, and I would urge others to do the same. But
Also, we would urge others to make sure to have at least a couple weeks of emergency food supply. Yeah, please. And I'm not a prepper at all. I know, Stu, you're not a prepper either, but you need a couple weeks worth just in case. You never know when you need to jump in the car, get the totes of food, and go. And that's what My Patriot Supply is
last
there
time I
for.
felt like this was 2007.
Oh, good.
Nothing happened a year later.
I don't remember.
I would call them.
With My Patriot Supply, you can get right now 2 weeks worth of breakfast, lunch, and dinners. That is a perfect emergency food supply. They come in these totes that are really convenient. You can move them very easily. $75.
Yeah, and I know that's the deal that they're doing now too, but they can do anything. I mean, they can do up to an entire year at once.
Right.
They can do just the go bag, which, you know, again, it depends on what your level is and how much space you have. But like a go bag is going to cover you for probably 75, 80% of emergencies. 2 weeks is going to be like 90, 95% of emergencies.
Yeah.
You know, you get to a month and 3 months and a year, you can get all the way as close to 99.9 as Glenn gets. Your whole house is basically
99.9. What's that 0.1?
We're going to do 6 weeks of shows on that 0.1.
But you can go to preparewithnews.com. If you have not gotten it yet, get it. It's there for when you need it because you don't know when you're going to need it. Preparewithnews.com. Stu, good old AOC. What's she up to?
You down with AOC?
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay. When she becomes president, you're going to want your My Patriot Supply. It's only 2 years away. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, there was an interesting exchange that went back and forth between a bunch of Washington sort of insiders that I thought was interesting on Twitter yesterday. This is Joshua Green he's a writer. He wrote the book, one of the books that was heavily sourced by Steve Bannon interviews. Kind of Bannon's. It was one of the first insider Trump books that came out. But he writes, in 2 hours circulating through GOP gatherings at Trump Hotel this evening, the big preoccupation wasn't Trump, Pelosi, or Schumer. It was Ocasio-Cortez. And of course, Ocasio-Cortez says, wow, I'm getting under their skin. She tweets, good, make them sweat. But this kind of launched a bunch of people into trying to analyze why the GOP is so fascinating with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Nate Silver, who I like, wrote a book called The Signal and the Noise. I think he's more noise here than signal, but this is what he said. He said there's a lot of reasons Ocasio-Cortez drives certain Republicans crazy, foremost among them race and gender.
Oh, God. Come on.
I mean, he's better than this. I don't know why. I mean, this is a weak one. But he says it's also quintessentially a New Yorker and D.C. political culture is formal and prudish when New York City isn't mostly those things. He kind of goes on to say New York likes to troll. Here it is. Put differently, New Yorkers are very good at trolling. And Washington has always been extreme troll vulnerability, which is a fun term. It always makes for a mismatch, but more pronounced now when we're in the golden age of trolling. We may need to move the capital back to Philly to keep it a fair fight. Obviously, with the Eagles, it should be in Philly. That's a whole different story.
Man, you imagine the Capitol, you'd get a snowball in the head. You'd get an ice ball.
Oh, us Eagles fans would treat those politicians right.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
But Ocasio-Cortez is, at some level, a somewhat fascinating figure. Obviously, like, number one, her victory was a monumental shock, right? Like, I mean, she had no right winning that race. She was a waitress 6 months before she won her role in Congress, and she defeated not a Republican. No one knows who the Republican is. She defeated a Democrat. It was very much Dave Bratt versus Eric Cantor. So it was a very surprising thing, and that's why I think she launched into sort of the public eye. She's young, she's good looking, so I think that she's TV friendly. But I do think like one of the things that people tend to miss when it comes to why the GOP is fascinated with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is she is their dream opposition. She's someone who is number one, a socialist, right? An admitted socialist. How long have Republicans tried to paint Democrats as socialists with a lot of merit behind those claims, but it's not always believable, and they always deny it, right? Like the Democrats always say, no, we're not socialists. You're a racist for calling me a socialist. They always fight back about that. Republicans have been dreaming of painting Democrats that way forever. Now, the new TV star, the face of the party, the future of the party, as according to the guy who's the head of the DNC, is admitting she's a socialist. So right there, that's a miracle for Republicans. Secondarily, she doesn't seem to know the basic functions of her job.
So she's a step away from saying socialism is a social platform.
Yeah, like she
really does not
kind of
really
is there.
understand.
And that was very a polite way to say that she's dumb as a rock.
Well, again, like, you know.
I want to say, I heard somebody say today, and I thought it was an interesting comparison. She is the Sarah Palin of the left.
Oh,
Wow.
It's not as I mean, but say, remember how
more
Sarah
accomplishments at the time.
Yeah, and everybody was
see why they would say that.
Yeah, and they were, and you Sarah Palin, and you loved her at first, and then you're like, okay, well, wait a minute, that was a stupid thing to say, and that was a stupid thing to say, and then it just kind of got really stupid there at the end. And Sarah wasn't stupid, and I don't know if she's stupid. I don't think she is.
Well, she may or may not be. I mean, look, if you want to give her a break, she's 28 years old, and she was working at a Mexican restaurant approximately 10 months ago.
But she went to BU.
Well, she did go to BU, and you'd think she'd have a basic control of the.
Her degree is in economics.
I know. She doesn't seem to have that.
Foreign relations.
In foreign relations, she doesn't. I don't know if she can find Canada on a map.
Not a segment to defend Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That's not what I'm doing here. But what I'm saying is, 28 years old, new to the media. Is it possible she's going to blurt out a bunch of stupid things, in the first couple of years? Sure, it's possible. Maybe she'll turn it around. I think there's some ridiculous thing in the media where every time you say anything bad about her, first of all, she jumps into immediate victimization mode. She is so quick to that button. Anything that you say, it's because I'm a woman. Oh, it's because I look different than you, and that's ridiculous. And the media has jumped in there to say, well, Republicans are being mean to her. It's because they're so threatened by her. I really do think that the idea of elevating someone who seems underinformed and someone who is an admitted socialist is just something the GOP really likes. And elevating someone that you think you can beat is a potentially good strategy. However, it is also a very dangerous strategy, as I think anyone who is honest in the media or on the left will tell you about Donald Trump in 2016. They did the same thing. They said, you know what, this guy, there's no way he can win. Give him all the attention. Show all of his rallies. Let's keep pouring all the attention on him. We want him to be our opponent. And then, of course, he kicked their butt. With Palin was the opposite, right? Like they were able to elevate her as the face of the Republican Party. She didn't handle the pressure well at all, and it didn't work. And now, it doesn't even seem like the Trump people like her anymore. She kind of seems like she's completely disappeared from.
The last time I saw her was when she endorsed Donald Trump.
Yeah, and again, it works sometimes, it doesn't work others, but it is a dangerous strategy. The idea that it's about race and whether she looks like us or has a different background is really ridiculous. When she first won this election, she was Jenny from the block. Remember this whole pitch of her being from the Bronx, and finally people started looking into her background and found out that she was raised in Yorktown Heights largely. Yorktown Heights is where I used to go all the time. My aunt lived there. I visited all the time. I was there for weeks and weeks in the summer when I would go to visit my relatives. A decent portion of my life was grown up in the same town as her. She's not foreign to me at all. I played with probably people who knew her family. You know what I mean? It's that ridiculous. And it's such a.
I probably stayed in hotels where her family cleaned up. You racist.
That's not what I said at all.
That's what I heard.
They lived in an apartment. It was not a.
Oh, they lived in
aunt.
My aunt.
My aunt.
So snobby.
My aunt. I was putting up my pajamas. I had people come and take my pajamas and put them on me.
I stand by aunt and pajamas. Me aunt and pajamas. So I can do that if you want. But it's just silly. One more example before we leave this. If it was about someone, they can elevate Ocasio-Cortez, right? GOP can talk about her all the time and elevate her in the media. If it was about not liking someone because they were a female or they looked different, they could also elevate Kamala Harris. They don't elevate Kamala Harris because they're afraid of Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris doesn't seem to make constant mistakes. She's not blurting out ridiculous things. She's same policy package as Ocasio-Cortez, but she doesn't say she's a socialist. She's a much scarier person. She threatens them much more than Ocasio-Cortez. If they can make it Ocasio-Cortez, it's the Democratic Party, that's a huge victory, at least in the short term. She's 28 years old. She may not wise up, but as of right now, it's a victory.
It's so rare, I think, to find someone that their ridiculousness matches their ridiculous policies. And that's the fascination the GOP has. It's I know they get this. Because they tried to do the same thing with George Bush. They tried to make George Bush out to look like an idiot. Like all nighttime television tried to make, the guy's not an idiot. He's a really smart guy if you've actually talked to him. But they tried to make him out to look like an idiot. Like, you don't even have to try. You just sit back and, please, goad her on. Let her defend herself. Just keep her talking. She'll just keep digging her
I'd love to have
hole.
a conversation with her because we'd clean the floor with her.
tried,
Any of
yeah,
us
yeah.
would clean the floor with her.
You won't.
Yeah, no, of course she wouldn't.
To this day, she's turned down every single request to debate that she
I would be very careful because she also has something. She has a very Evita quality to her.
Star power, is that kind of?
Yeah, she has. I was a bartender. I was just a nobody. I'm just like you, and she can pull it off.
But all you need to do is point out that your story is the greatest capitalist success story ever.
I know.
Really. Like this, the thing that you're backing and defending, the system you want, would have destroyed what you became.
All right, we got to take a break.
Evita.
But cutting through with star power is a big deal today. And, Tulsi Gabbard from
We're just talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Did you guys see the article? I saw a tweet to the link of the article that was like, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez should run for president and dare the Supreme Court to stop her.
They would dare. It's
They would dare, yes, Constitution.
Really
Like it's very clearly written that you have to be 35.
Although I will say, if you can identify as a woman or a man or a dog or whatever else, like, why can't you identify as 35 when you're 28?
They already ruled on that.
Well,
I thought that was
old
in
guy,
a different country, though.
yeah,
Was that in a different country? I thought that was here.
whatever. Try it again. Postmodernism.
Only
Just
matter
try
of
it again until they say the right thing, and then say it's settled law.
All right, so we have got overtime coming up.
Oh, I love overtime.
Don't forget, do you?
Yeah, it's
I
my
don't.
favorite
I'm
part.
not sure that he loves it.
I love it. I want to hear about France.
Yes, we still. Sorry, Jason. These guys, they talk so much that we didn't get to it.
Are we gonna play the France video with the
Talking about
smoking
France
and the
coming up
sex in
next
front of the
in
red
an hour.
Oh my gosh, that would be great.